Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So today is Sunday, and we're just going to have another velocity banking training. Just rest and relax while we're learning off how to pay off debt. And what we're going to do is we're just going to assume for today's training that we're high income earners. Maybe we work in the medical field. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but there are plenty of people who make what would seem like incredibly good income, like $240,000 a year or above, and they're still broke, right? They're still broke. And in fact, if I switch gears right here, okay, I look on YouTube, plenty of video about broke nurses. I mean, look at this one. 1 year ago, 415,000 views about nurses being broke, right? Broke nurses, nurses are broke nurses. Why are nurses broke in 2024, right? And I know, one nurse, at least one nurse. I probably know a few more. I can't think of the top of my head, but I heard through the grapevine, okay, that it's actually a ritual that once you graduate from nursing school, probably one of the reasons why you're broke is you get the BBL and then you get the Mercedes Benz. I heard it's like a ritual, and that's probably one of the reasons why you're broke. Always better to go natural, you know what I mean? I always like natural, but for some reason, people don't like natural anymore. I love it. All right. And then you see this article here. Why are so many doctors broke? Is it worth the debt? And this is from medschoolinsiders.com, right? And so, a lot of people think, oh my goodness, if I just had a lot more money, I wouldn't be broke. And this is the same camp of people who believe, like, oh my goodness, if I just had a line of credit, I would be broke. And folks, you got to have a firm financial foundation before you start this stuff, before you get into debt. I mean, think about it. If you're going to be a doctor, how many years of preparation do you have? You got 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, 4 years of residency until you become a full-fledged doctor. So that's like 12 years. And during the 12 years, what do you learn about like debt management? Never. You don't learn about anything about finances, right? Kind of sad. So let's go ahead to the to here where we're going to learn about velocity banking. So, what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using a line of credit as your main operating account. We're going to assume that we have $240,000 of income, which is really good. 13 grand. And listen, if you're a doctor, right, or a nurse, because again, I actually am training a nurse on this velocity banking concept. And I remember because when I first taught it to her, she had this blank stare because she probably realized was like, I could have paid off my home like 5, 7 years ago. And she actually sold off one of her main home in the nice area, right, in the golf course that she probably bought for 300,000 or $400,000, and it sold for $800,000 because she couldn't manage the payments. Like, you could have, bro, the home had appreciated so much in the good area, yet she bought it at the right price because it was a long time ago in Georgia, but she couldn't handle its payments. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes like you explain the velocity banking concept to other people, and it's like I know what they're thinking, even if they don't tell me anything. I could have paid off all my debt easily. And here's the thing, okay? Why is it so hard for us to pay off debt? It's because we segregate our income, right? So take a look at this. How many credit cards do we have? We have one, two, three, four, five. We got maybe a nice car, 45,000. Maybe it's a Tesla. I don't know. We got a $200,000 student loan. We got a $20,000 personal loan. We got a $510,000 mortgage, and then we got all of our other expenses. So whenever our paycheck comes into our account, it gets split into many different ways. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. So nine debts. I've even had a real life case scenario, and let's just take a quick look here, where someone was actually trying to pay off 22 debts, and we had a live stream on that, but that's only for YouTube members. But we actually did go over that, and it took us 1 hour and 30 minutes to go over that case scenario. It was crazy. Never seen anything like it, right? So let's just go back here, okay? So now we've satisfied the first requirement, which is a budget. The second requirement is a line of credit as our main operating account. Okay, so what is the line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you could borrow money, pay back, and then use it over and over again. So if you got credit cards, it's a line of credit. But there are other types of lines of credit as well, I always like to show these pictures. We got a home equity line of credit here. So basically, you're using almost like your house as collateral for a credit card. But it's not really a credit card. It's even cooler than a credit card. And I'll tell you why, because you can use it to pay anything. So if I borrow like 20 bucks from this line of credit and then the payments due, I don't know what the payment would be, I could just literally pull 20 bucks from the line of credit to pay off that $20 bill and put it back again. It's crazy. Like I didn't even know that these tools existed before I studied velocity banking, and then we got a $15,000 personal line of credit here. Now, because we make a lot of money, let's assume that maybe we got a good home. It's a $800,000 home. I don't know. Or maybe like we bought it for 600,000 or 700,000, and because the equity, you know how crazy things were back in 2020. We have so much equity, and that'll be our collateral. Let's just assume that we have of access to maybe a $200,000 home equity line of credit, right? And again, my home actually, when I bought it, was I actually bought it for full retail for 300,000, but I noticed that they were going to build like new shopping centers, and you want to know a real estate hack, right? So if you ever see or know that they're going to build homes in an area, and they're going to build like new retail shopping centers, and it's like kind of empty, like that's kind of a real estate hack because those companies have done the research knowing that the population is going to grow there, right? I remember like when I first came to Georgia, I was like, "Oh, wow, this Walmart is so empty. Like there's nobody here. Like it seems like it's new." And then I realized at the time, like Home Depot, Walmart, all they built like these new stores. That's the best place to buy real estate because they've already done the research for you. So if you don't know how to do like market analysis, and again, some of that can get really complicated. That's a real hack, but just a side note. But you can see here, I have access to $280,000 home equity line of credit, and my home value is probably at 380. So I probably could have gotten a little bit more. They said they offered 280. I said sure, why not? Because the last home equity line of credit I got was 50,000. Now I know what some of you are thinking because I get this comment once in a while, right? Like, how do you get like nobody has a home equity line of credit laying around. And I get that. Just like nobody is making, very few people are making $240,000 salary and just it's not laying around. But the thing you have to understand is, especially with banking, that banks don't lend money to people who need it. In fact, like if you're not making any money and you don't have that much credit, I actually think this is the best time to study velocity banking because you're learning how to drive the car, or you're learning how to drive before you start driving the car, right? And I use this analogy a lot, but I think it's like the best analogy ever, where too many people, they only want to learn how to drive the car after they've crashed it, right? And this is within context of our finances. Like, oh, I only want to learn about debt management after I'm broke. Like that's how a lot of people's minds work in this country. It's kind of sad, but that's the entire nation. And the banks like that, right? Why do you think they have the tallest buildings in downtowns in North America? Because too many people make really poor decisions with their spending habits, and they're just giving all of their financial power to the banks, right? Like, what do they produce? At least Apple produces an iPad and a Mac. What does the bank produce? They just shuffle paper, right? And they have the tallest buildings in North America. And that's because all of your payments are sucked into here, and you're literally just making monthly payments. And the thing is that you're freaking out because you feel like, oh my goodness, I gotta have 36 months of savings. But listen, when we do velocity banking, we're gonna see two things. Number one, same income. Number two, we're not going to have actual savings, right? And this is the part where people get tripped up. Oh my goodness, like we're not going to have savings? But I was taught in school, I was taught, but when I was like 8 years old and I went to the bank and the bank manager said, oh, you got to have some savings in your savings account, and tell your parents, like, hey, I don't have any savings in my savings account. None. Like they'll freak out. In fact, when I went back home to California, I just told people, like, I don't have any savings in my savings accounts. Like, how could you? That's irresponsible, right? Like, look at this. I start out with zero, I end up with zero because I put everything into that line of credit. Okay. And then our expenses, right? All right. Our expenses, we're going to go ahead and copy those. And then now it's going to be income minus expenses. We're going to have something called cash flow. right? So expenses are the same, but we're gonna have something called cash flow, and our cash flow is looking the exact same as savings. Like, what's the difference? You're just shuffling words, right? But there's one more step because we're gonna maximize that cash flow, and we maximize cash flow by moving our debt into the line of credit. Now, one of the things I'm gonna explain is there's a debt payoff order, really important. Now, if you want to know the cheat code hack, usually credit cards and short-term loans, those like buy now, pay later. Uh, I've seen it as high as 30%. It's crazy, right? We move those into a line of credit first, usually, right? So the guidance is usually you use a indicator called a short cash flow index, which I'll kind of go over today, but not really. Look it up on the internet if you want to go over it. But if you got short-term loans and credit cards, those are the ones you want to move into a line of credit first. In fact, let's figure out with these 5 credit cards how much money we have. So 5 plus 8 plus 15 plus 27 plus 30, right? $85,000. Okay, we have $85,000 of credit card debt. So let's go ahead and move that right here into that $200,000 home equity line of credit. And you know what's crazy is that usually when people start this off, even if they have lines of credit, obviously they're not going to have like an empty line of credit. But if they had known this strategy from the very beginning, they would probably never be in this situation. And we go over that in live stream as well, because in the live stream that we did, it's called paying off 22 debts or eliminating 22 debts. The person, and it's a real life case study, the person had a line of credit that was maxed out to 18,000, and I think there was like a available balance like 400 or something. It was crazy. Never seen anything like it. But it was, that live stream took 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I usually take only 30 to 40 minutes to make each of these videos. Okay, so I'm blabbering on and on. So now, since we pay just transfer debt, okay, these payments go away. And this is a very hard concept for people to understand. That just by simply transferring debt into my line of credit as my main operating account, now this goes for 1,400 to 42.95. Isn't that crazy? Like, how did we do that? Oh my goodness! Like, how do we, you know? and so once we move some debt, now we got to do the actual strategy, right? The actual strategy is your paycheck goes into that line of credit. And so two things happen when we do that. When we put that entire 13,500, number one, the minimum payments get satisfied, right? So it's like the minimum payment doesn't even matter anymore. Number two, the interest gets minimized because it's based on the average daily balance, right? It's based on the average daily balance. So when we put the entire 1300, well, that's going to be the lowest the balance will be, and eventually it will creep up, but we're saving interest because the average daily balance is at its potential minimum. Okay, so now what we do is once we put that paycheck in, eventually we're going to take our expenses out. So expenses out of the line of credit, and then our cash flow number will be used to drive down the balance of the line of credit, and then we just do it over and over again. So now let's go ahead and do the magic 3 formulas, which is the next month, which is I2 plus 1, and then the next month's balance, which is the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow number. So what's our cash flow number? It's 4295.74. 4295.74. All right, excellent. So now what we're going to do is take the interest, right? And so let's go ahead and do this. Where's that formula? All right, so the average right here, we're going to get the average, multiply it by 0.085 because that's the interest rate right here. But look at this, like, oh my goodness, do we pay $7,000 a month on interest? Because it's 8.5 times the average daily balance. No, 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 no. It's 8.5 divided by 12 because the interest rate is always quoted manually, but you calculate it monthly, right? A lot of people don't understand this. So it's like, oh man, I thought I was going to pay 7 grand in interest. No, it's actually $586, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste these formulas, and then you see after every single month, oh my goodness, after 22 months, this credit card debt is gone, right? This credit card debt is completely wiped out, gone, kaplat, wabam, I need to come up with like for catchphrase. I think boom works too, but I actually copied that from someone else. So I'm trying to create my copycat phrase. But well, how many months was it? This was 22 months. Okay, gotcha. 22 months. 22 months. And this was how many? Was it 87K? No, 85K. So now we paid off 85K, right, in less than 2 years. And now, okay, we got the loans, right? So loans, here's the thing. They're really deceptive. People, when it comes to loans, they don't really calculate the total interest that they pay. Okay? So for example, with this 510,000 3% loan, right? How much are we paying after 30 years? We're paying about 50% in interest. So 510 plus 50% of 510, that's the total amount you pay. And I don't know what it is, but people, they get really deceived by these loans, right? So we usually pay these last, and the reason why we pay these last is because they don't suck up that much cash flow, although they do generate a lot of interest for the whoever's collecting the payments, right? It's technically not the bank when it comes to the mortgage, because most mortgages, they actually get sold off right after they issue them, right? So you ever notice like, oh, you thought you got a mortgage with this bank, and it's like, oh, got sold off, right? So yeah, so just want to throw that in there. Although I always like to say the bank, it's the bank collecting the payments, So just a little side note there. So okay, so in order for me to pay off this $510,000, look how much cash flow I get back. I only get $2,100 of cash flow back. Whereas if I pay off the student loan $2,000, I get more cash flow back. So what we're going to do is use something called the cash flow index to figure out which loans that we pay off first, right? And we have this loan calculator right here, and I created it myself. It's really easy to create with Excel if you know the Excel functions and the formulas. So you can auto calculate the payment amount. They have this payment amount function right here. You can auto calculate the balance because they have this future value function right here. So these are what they call TMV, money value calculators. I think that's what they're called. I know it's TMV, but any financial calculator will have these functions, right? And so let's go ahead and type in the current month, which is 22. Okay. And so now, oh, we didn't calculate the total interest. So now, okay, let's take a look here. Like, oh my goodness, these cash flow indexes of this one and this one are really low. And if you ever just do a Google search, like anything below 50, they tell you to pay off quickly, right? Because if I take a look here, in order to pay this 30 grand, I get about $800 a month, right? And 14 grand, I get about $500 a month. So if I wipe out these loans really quickly and move them to the line of credit, then I get over $1,000 in cash flow back, right? With a relatively low balance. That's why the cash flow index is a relatively easy system to figure out which debts you pay off. And people are like, oh, it's baloney, right? But here's the thing: I didn't really understand like the value of it until people started sending me their spreadsheets, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's 22 debts right here. Which one do I pay off? And it's like, oh, the cash flow index system really hones it in as to which debts you pay off. It makes it easy, right? Easy has a lot of value. So let's and uh, go ahead and sum this up. So this is G7 plus G8, right? So about 44 grand. So let's move. Um, which loans are these? This is the auto loan and the personal loan. Okay, so let's move the auto loan and the personal loan into the line of credit, right? So let's go do that right here. We're rich doctors. We shouldn't be struggling, or doctors or nurses. I know that nurses make a lot of money too. So let's go ahead and move this into the line of credit. So 44693.86, right? And then when we do that, okay, guess what happens? We paid off the auto loan and the personal loan. So now this is zero, and then this is zero, right? So guess what happens here? Wow, our cash flow is like over $5,000. Wablam, right? Kapow. What are those other Batman? The '60s Batman, where like they always put pow, wham. Are there any other phrases that we can use for paying off debt and increasing our cash flow? So let me just do this here. So now what we got to do is we got to update these to reflect our new cash flow, which is 5673.27. All right. And now let's go ahead and do that. Whoa. And how long is it going to take us to pay off these loans? 30 months. Excellent. 30 months. All right. So now, okay, let's just do this right here. So how much is this? This is 85 plus 45 plus 20. So it's 150K in 30 months. 30 months, 150K, right? And then now we got this, ugly student loan, 200,000 and 510. I pretty much guarantee that we're going to be focused on paying off the student loan, right? So let's go ahead and figure out the current balance and of this student in mortgage, which is going to be at 30 months now. So month 30, month 30, right? And so now uh, cash flow index is currently at 67. This one's 224. Basically, the whole idea is that when it's above 100, you don't really get that much cash flow based on how much you borrow, right? So they say like, oh, it's not really worth paying off that loan. I kind of get that, but here's the thing: if the cash flow index is really high and you got a low monthly payment, you pay a lot of interest, right? So if we take this to full term, 360, we pay $264,000 on $510,000 of debt, even though it's a 3% interest rate, right? Too many people focus on the interest rate and they don't focus on how much they pay, but whatever. All right, so now, which one are we going to focus on? Well, I say focus on the student loan first. Now, do we want to move the entire student loan into a line of credit? Probably not, right? I always say that with these high index or cash flow index loans, they don't really give you that much bang for your buck, right? Now, here's the thing. 8% and 8.5% is not that much of a difference. Our line of credit is 8.5%. So I kind of feel okay just moving the entire thing into the line of credit. But in general, if there's a huge interest rate difference, like 3 and 8, I would not do it in the line of credit. And I'll show you this in our final demonstration with that velocity banking calculator. So let's go ahead and do this. So let's move this student loan into that line of credit. Let's go ahead and do that. And normally I wouldn't do this, but I think because the interest rate is so similar, and I even if it was similar, a little slightly higher, I probably wouldn't do this in real life. But let's just see how this works out. So I'm going to move 163,826.65 into that line of credit, right? And now we increased our cash flow about 2 grand. Okay, so actually 2,400. So now this is zero. So what's our new cash flow now? Is it 8 grand? Holy, my goodness! I can't even speak. We went from 1 grand to 8 grand of cash flow in about 30 months. And so that's a little bit less than 3 years. Wow. All these doctors, they don't understand what gold mine they're sitting on, right? If they're broken with all this debt, right? So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to do now control and paste this cash flow number. And then now I'm going to update this cash flow number, which is now 8099.82. Okay. And then so now let's go ahead and copy and paste this and figure out how long is it going to take for me to pay off that student loan. And look at this. It's not that much interest, even though it's a huge balance of over $100,000. So let's go ahead and do that. And wablam, 52 months, 52 months that student loan was paid off, right? So now let's go ahead and write that down. So 52 months. And so now that's 350K pay. Is it 350K? Yeah, I think it's 350K paid off. And so now what we do is we got the 510 mortgage. So let's figure out what the loan balance of that $510,000 mortgage is at 52 months. So I just type in 52 right here. and then now it's $461,000. Now, here's the thing: our line of credit is only about 200 something, but I still, even if I could move it into a line of credit, let's say we had a 400 or a $500,000 line of credit, I still wouldn't move it, just because when you move a debt that has a really high cash flow index, meaning that if you pay it off, the cash flow that you get is not that much compared to the balance of the debt. It's probably going to harm you a little bit, right? You'll still pay it off quickly, but you want to pay it off quickly and save as much interest as possible, right? You want the actually, and in addition, you want the control of the money as well. That's the whole point of this, right? So let's go ahead and copy this number right here. So $461,000. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this velocity banking calculator that I have, right? A velocity banking calculator. Let me open it up right now to kind of show you how we can just pay it off in what we call chunking or chunks, right? So let's just go ahead and fill in the deets. I'm opening up the calculator right now, and let me go ahead and move this here. Yeah, there we go. And so let me move some of the details there. So it's $510,000 mortgage, and let me go ahead and write that down. So 510, oops, wrong cell. 510000. What's the current balance? It is 461,464.74. 461,464.74. And then it's 3%. And what's the current payment? 2150.18. 2150.18. Okay, let's put in the correct information. So the expenses is everything except for the loan we're trying to pay off. So that'll be $32.50 for our general expenses. And because we're doctors, right? And unlike other doctors, we're actually gonna feel rich now. No broke doctors here. We're gonna put 13,500 because that's our total combined income for the household. Now, here's the thing you might hear on the internet, right? And I've never been a fan of this, right? You move the entire mortgage into a line of credit, okay? And so as you can see here, you might be really impressed by this. Oh my goodness, we paid this off in 4.6 years, right? So let's just write this down. Replace your mortgage, right? That's well, let me do this. 4.6 years and 97K of interest. Like, look at how much interest we saved. And we paid it off so quickly. So we saved $100,000 of interest. But if you use something called a chunking method, which is just taking a small amount, right, and moving it to the line of credit, it'll let's just do that. 15000. Look at that. Look at that. So chunking is 4 years and 30K of interest. So we literally saved about 67K using this chunking method, meaning just move parts of it into the line of credit. Another way you think about it is just chopping up your mortgage into pieces. 4 years, right? This is why, we have to do comparisons, and we can't just say, hey, always replace your mortgage with the line of credit. If the mortgage interest rate was the same, to me, I'd be indifferent about. But if you have this huge interest rate difference, you can still pay it off with the line of credit, but just do it in little pieces, right? And you would save about $67,000 and pay it off like, what's point 0.6? How many it's point 0.6 years, point 0.6 times 12, right? So point 0.6 times 12. Okay. Is that 7.2 years, or did I do that wrong? No, 7.2 months. I'm going crazy. 7.2 months, right? So you literally save 7 months and about 67K by using this chunking method. And I don't know what to say. So here's the thing. If you want to replace your mortgage and you got a low interest rate mortgage and you kind of want to throw $67,000 of interest out the window, just give it to me. Like you know what? I actually have never, even though I bought 2 houses, I've never bought in a car before. So I might, you just give it to me. I'll buy like a Tesla or something, or I don't know, a new Toyota, and then that'll be like I don't know, it'll be a gift from you to me instead of giving 97K to the bank, right? If you want to do that, I mean, it's fine. But all right. So other thing too, where's this from? This is from Renatus, and I always talk about this because this is originally where I learned velocity banking from. So insert commercial here. I actually sell Renatus products, right? And I get commission off them. So it's an educational company. So if you want to learn not only velocity banking, but other things like, I don't know, creative real estate red flags, learning how to find deals, it has a comprehensive educational package. So when I talk about, finding deals at a discount, where do you think I learned how to find a deal at a discount? Right? I learned it from here. That's what Renatus is. I'm what they call what is it? Independent contracted marketer, meaning I make commission off sales. So if you're interested, yeah, go ahead and click the Google form link below. So other than that, actually, whoopsie, what did I do? I'm switching screens right here. So all right, nope, not here. Wait, did I screw up? Let me go back to the right screen. Yeah, hold on. Okay, there we go. Yes, yes. So now let's go ahead and do this. So this is now going to be 0, right? So it's 52 divided by 12 plus 4, right? How free? Oh, 8.3 years, and we're a debt free. And how much was the debt, right? So it's 350 plus 510, 860K. 860K. We just paid it off. Not bad in 8.3 years. And now we have extreme cash flow of 10 grand a month. We ain't no poor doctor or nurse anymore, right? We ain't no paycheck to paycheck doctor or nurse anymore. We're a cash flowing doctor or nurse. And that's kind of sad that how some of our most, quote, highly educated individuals don't even receive the basics of like finance training, right? So it's kind of sad. All right. Well, that's it for today. Just a relax and relaxation and training on a beautiful Sunday for velocity banking. Yeah. So that's it for today. And I don't know. Any comments, thoughts? Do you know any broke doctors? I know one nurse who I taught this to, and I think she was shocked that she could have paid off her home this quickly. Because listen, $510,000 home paid off in 4 years, right? Who wouldn't love that? And then she also had a rental home, still owns it to this day. She had to move into it, and still hasn't paid it off. All right. Okay. Well, that's it for today. So let's go ahead and end this training. Have a great day, and we will speak next time.